Jeremy Skahill, welcome to the New York Film Festival.
Thank you. Good to be here.
You're a documentary filmmaker yourself. Can you talk about your collaboration with Laura in the production of this new film?
Yeah, it's funny because I actually don't consider myself a documentary filmmaker. I mean, I'm a journalist that accidentally made a documentary. Laura and I have long sort of collaborated in an informal way as journalists, sharing information. And when the Edward Snowden story broke, she and Glenn Greenwald reached out to me and asked me to work with them. And so we started a new news organization together called The Intercept. And you know, one of the things, the film that we did was called Dirty Wars, and it exposed covert aspects of the American war on terror. And I feel like Laura's film is an extension of that work and a great exclamation point on it because it shows the risks that people take to expose secrets that the government doesn't want in the public domain. And the war against whistleblowers right now in this country should be a premier issue that all of us care about. And what's amazing about this film is that you don't feel like you're watching a documentary. You feel like you're watching a thriller. And part of that is because Laura's an incredible filmmaker, and part of it is because she had a front row seat to one of the most amazing stories of the last century, the sort of flight of Edward Snowden and the taking of thousands and thousands of top secret documents. I mean, it's a story that Hollywood would not have been able to make up.
And what sort of risks do you feel that you're taking with your own role in this film?
Well, you know, I think that journalists in this society are facing intense pressure from the government. Our metadata is being collected, our phone records are being seized, government agents are trying to figure out who we're talking to within government in an unauthorized way, in other words, whistleblowers or leakers. The risks that journalists take, I think, actually boil down to whether or not you're able to protect your sources. There are a couple of journalists right now, James Risen of the New York Times, that are facing potential criminal charges for not testifying against their sources. So in that sense, there's a risk, but 99.9% infinity of the risk is taken by the whistleblowers who, for reasons of conscience, decide that they're not going to be silent anymore and they speak out. So I always get a little embarrassed when people ask me about risks that we take as journalists. It's not that there aren't risks. It's that we all know people in secret whose names we can't reveal, identities we can't talk about in public, that are far braver than any journalists operating in the world today.
You mentioned that you consider yourself a journalist first and a filmmaker second. Will you continue to be involved in film to get the message out?
You know, that was the first time I was really involved with a film when we made Dirty Wars, and you know, I was blown away at the ability of film to communicate with a much wider audience of people that wouldn't normally be interested in the subject that you're reporting on. And it really opened a door for me into a room that's just filled with possibility. And so, I mean, I'm not saying I'll make another film or be involved with making another film, but I would love to support independent filmmakers who are doing it. And if my journalism does that, then I'm happy to help.
With that in mind, what have your impressions of the New York Film Festival been so far?
I mean, I think the New York Film Festival is fantastic. I mean, our film premiered at Sundance, and it was sort of hilarious being interviewed by reporters that were like in these big mink coats and, you know, freezing cold weather, and none of them have actually seen your film, and they sort of stick a microphone in your face and they say, "So, Dirty Wars," you know, and the person has no idea what it is. The New York Film Festival, I think, draws some of the smartest people in film. And I think the fact that Laura and her team decided to premiere it here was an excellent idea, because I think this is a city that is really going to come out in support of this film and supports independent films.
Jeremy Skahill, thank you so much and welcome.